Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of source material
Yeah.
and we just kind of plunge in
Head first.
and
see what we come out with.
see what kind of insights we can find.
Mm-hmm.
And today's going to be a very interesting one, I think.
Very interesting.
We are going to be talking about
Predictions surrounding the
coming inauguration.
and the global tensions surrounding that.
Yeah, and this is January 18th, 2025. So
Just a couple days.
just a couple days before the planned inauguration ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Also a couple days before a planned victory rally by Trump.
Oh, right.
And all of this against a backdrop of some
Yeah.
pretty intense relations between Russia and NATO.
Yes, and what's so fascinating about this deep dive is the source material.
Yeah.
We're not looking at some dry, political analysis.
Right.
We're not looking at a think tank report.
Right.
We are turning to YouTube
Okay.
for a video by two intuitive readers, Rosie and Karina, and they are going through news reports offering their predictions based on their intuition.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So Rosie and Karina start off by talking about Trump's potential return to power.
Right.
And they are predicting that he will not be inaugurated
Despite
plans for deportations,
Yes.
nominations for his cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
They say all these efforts will ultimately fail.
And they have some interesting visuals to back this up.
Yeah.
Rosie describes officers disbanding fences being torn down.
Oh.
And this sense of those nominations being very ghostly and unconfirmed.
Interesting.
A stark contrast to what we're hearing in the news.
Right. And then they address the skepticism surrounding these predictions head on.
Of course.
They acknowledge the possibility of being wrong,
Sure.
but they really emphasize their commitment to truth and transparency.
They say they're putting it all out there,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately they stand by their intuition.
Yeah, and that's a really important point. They're not claiming to be infallible, but they're asking us to consider a different way of knowing.
A different lens.
Yeah, different lens through which to view these events.
Absolutely.
Okay, so from there, the video goes into Russia's recent actions in the Baltic Sea,
Oh, boy.
a drone crash in Romania,
Mm-hmm.
a French patrol plane being targeted.
Mm-hmm.
And it really raises this question, were these acts of intentional aggression,
Right.
or were they just a series of reckless mistakes?
Yeah, or just incompetence.
Right. And Rosie and Karina interpret these actions as signs of desperation from Russia,
Interesting.
suggesting that they're using this kind of kamikaze approach to inflict as much harm as possible
Before what?
before a potential change in U.S. leadership.
I see.
So they believe that Russia is basically trying to exploit the current political instability,
Yeah, take advantage.
take advantage of it.
And any potential shift in U.S. foreign policy.
Right. And they go on to predict that Russia will ultimately face defeat in the Baltic Sea.
Okay.
And then there's this whole other element that adds another layer of intrigue to their predictions. Channeling.
They're channeling.
They're channeling John McCain and Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow. To gain further insights?
Yeah. For those who might not be familiar with channeling,
Right.
it's this process where individuals claim to communicate with spirits or entities.
To access knowledge and guidance.
Yeah. So definitely not your typical approach to political analysis.
No, definitely not mainstream.
Right.
And again, important to say that this is an intuitive perspective.
Right.
This is not like a news report. Not a factual news report.
Right.
It's just what they are seeing and hearing.
But the messages that they channel are really quite compelling.
Yeah, like what are they saying?
So McCain condemns the GOP,
Interesting.
affirms Harris is the rightful winner,
Okay.
and stresses the importance of standing up to foreign threats.
I see.
And MLK's message is equally powerful.
Uh-huh.
He emphasizes hope,
Hope.
this idea that light will prevail over darkness,
Okay.
and the significance of these events happening on his holiday,
Oh, wow.
which is very
It
interesting.
adds this whole other layer of symbolism to it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking about this in the broader context,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like these intuitive predictions are being framed within this narrative of American democracy facing a crossroads,
Oh, yeah.
grappling with both internal and external threats.
Internal and external.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then the question becomes, what about Trump's victory rally?
Is it going to happen?
Will it actually happen?
Right.
And Rosie and Karina describe something that's very different from a typical celebratory rally.
Yeah.
They talk about heavy security, sparse attendance, a potentially ominous staged feeling,
Okay.
and even the possibility of being canceled because of bomb threats.
Oh, wow.
So speaking of ominous,
Yeah.
The video highlights Germany's response to increased drone activity. They've authorized their army to shoot down suspicious drones.
Wow.
And this ties directly into those broader concerns about potential Russian sabotage and interference in democratic elections.
Right, and we have those reports of
Yeah, like the damaged undersea cables.
damaged undersea cables.
Suspected drone activity near military bases.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely unsettling.
It really makes you wonder what Russia's up to.
Yeah, what are their intentions?
What are they capable of?
What are they capable of? And there's this real sense of anticipation. Like everybody's kind of on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Waiting to see what happens next.
But amidst all of this tension, Rosie, Karina, and those channeled figures,
Yeah.
they all agree on one key point.
What's that?
Kamala Harris will be president.
They all agree on that.
They all agree, and that's the biggest mystery.
How is that going to happen?
How will it happen?
Right, because it doesn't seem possible.
It remains unclear, but the prediction suggests it'll be swift
No if.
and unexpected.
A sudden turn of events.
A sudden turn of events, yeah.
Wow.
So this deep dive is definitely raising a lot of questions
A lot of questions.
and sparking some pretty interesting discussions.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So before we move on to explore the potential inauguration of Kamala Harris and all the implications of that,
Right.
we want to remind you to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with anybody who might find it interesting.
Yes. Spread the word.
You can also find us on Spotify and YouTube
That's right.
for more thought-provoking content.
Makes you wonder, how could that even be possible?
I know, right?
Like, how could there be such a dramatic reversal?
Yeah, we're talking about a complete upending of the expected outcome here.
Yeah, and it's not just Rosie and Karina, right?
No.
They're bringing in these figures like John McCain
Yeah, these really heavy hitters.
and Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, people who carry a lot of weight in American history.
And you know, McCain,
Mm-hmm.
known for his integrity and his opposition to Trump,
Right.
he's depicted as really troubled
Mm-hmm.
by the GOP's actions, and he's adamant that Harris is the rightful winner.
Yeah, it's almost as if he's giving us guidance from beyond the grave.
Right, like urging us to get back to those core values.
Yeah, and then you layer in MLK's message,
Right.
and it adds this whole other level of spiritual significance to it.
Yeah, talking about the fight for justice and equality.
Yeah, and framing this potential inauguration of Harris
As a real triumph.
as a triumph of light over darkness.
Wow.
So it really raises the question, how much weight should we give to intuitive predictions?
Especially when they seem to contradict everything we think we know.
Everything we're hearing from those official sources?
Right. Exactly.
You know, we're so used to data and polls and expert analysis. But what about when things happen that nobody could have predicted?
When those unexpected events unfold.
And it makes you wonder if maybe these intuitive insights offer a different kind of knowing.
Maybe they allow us to tap into something deeper.
Yeah, something beyond the surface.
Beyond those headlines.
Right, and maybe they even offer a glimpse into those undercurrents that are shaping history.
The things we don't always see.
It's something to think about.
It really is.
So let's bring it back to the potential inauguration of Kamala Harris.
Okay.
The predictions are clear she will be president,
But how?
but the how remains a mystery.
Yeah.
Rosie and Karina, they see it happening quickly,
Unexpectedly.
possibly even before Trump's planned inauguration.
And John McCain, in his message, he emphasizes that it needs to happen fast.
Planned smoothly,
Before anybody can anticipate it.
like a stealth operation.
Yeah, and he even suggests that Biden is aware of this plan. Oh, wow. And has been working behind the scenes
To make sure it all goes smoothly.
to ensure a seamless transition.
It's like a secret plot
Yeah, a carefully orchestrated transfer of power.
to circumvent all those obstacles.
Yeah, almost like a political sleight of hand.
I like that,
It's a bold claim,
for sure.
one that's bound to raise some eyebrows.
Yeah.
But again, we're in the realm of intuitive predictions here.
Right, this is about facts.
We're exploring possibilities,
Possibilities.
not stating certainties. Right, so what if we just entertain the possibility that they're right?
Okay.
What would that mean?
What would that mean for American politics?
Yeah, think about it.
It would be a dramatic shift,
For sure.
like a complete rejection of the expected outcome.
It would suggest that there are forces at play
Whether they're political, spiritual, or something else entirely.
that are powerful enough to override the system.
Yeah, it would also raise questions about the role of intuition.
In decision-making.
Yeah, like, Should we be paying more attention to people who claim to have this kind of knowledge?
Maybe there's more to it than we realize.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It really is.
It pushes us to think beyond the limits of our current understanding.
To consider what might be possible.
Yeah, and that's really what the deep dive is all about.
Absolutely.
We're exploring the unknown.
Diving deep into those mysteries.
And we're inviting you to come along for the ride.
That's right. We want to expand your understanding of the world.
To challenge your perspective.
To open your mind to new possibilities.
So now let's talk about the potential implications of a Harris presidency.
Okay.
Rosie, Karina, and the channeled figures. They all seem to agree
On what?
that it would usher in a new era.
An era of hope and progress.
After all this division and turmoil,
They see it as a turning point.
a chance for America to heal.
To move forward.
They envision Harris as a symbol of light and justice.
A leader who can bring people together.
Restore faith in the American dream.
Okay, but her path to the presidency, if it happens the way they're saying, won't be easy.
No, they're predicting obstacles.
Resistance.
Yeah, likely coming from those who oppose her.
Who want to cling to the old ways.
Who are afraid of change.
Right. Remember those images from that Intelligence Committee meeting?
Yeah.
With those Republicans expressing fear and uncertainty?
Yeah, and those reports of potential disruptions and bomb threats at Trump's rally.
It's a volatile situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension.
Like it could erupt at any moment.
It suggests that even if Harris does become president,
The transition might not be smooth.
it might not be peaceful.
That's a scary thought.
It's a reminder that the road ahead will be full of challenges.
Even if she makes it to the White House.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to stay informed,
To think critically.
to be prepared for the unexpected.
The world is changing fast.
Yeah. And the old ways of doing things might not work anymore.
We need to be flexible.
We need to be resilient.
And open to new ways of thinking.
Maybe it's time to embrace those new ways of knowing.
To consider the value of intuition.
To look at things from a different perspective.
To be open to the possibility that things might not go the way we expect.
That there might be more to the world than we realize.
That's a good point.
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
It is.
One that pushes us beyond those limitations.
And that's what the deep dive is all about.
Exactly.
We're all about exploring the unknown.
Diving into the depths of knowledge and intuition.
And inviting you to join us.
So before we wrap up this discussion about a potential Harris presidency, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Which is,
Russia and those escalating tensions with the U.S. and NATO.
yeah, that's a big part of this whole story.
It is
Rosie and Karina, they're predicting a possible conflict.
in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, triggered by what they see as Russian aggression.
And this aligns with what we're seeing in the news.
Increased military activity.
NATO bolstering its defenses.
It's definitely a tense situation.
They even go so far as to predict a naval battle.
With Russia ultimately losing.
But the consequences could be devastating.
Yeah, a full-blown war.
Between nuclear powers.
It's a scary thought.
It is. It makes you realize how fragile peace really is.
How quickly things can escalate.
Yeah, and how interconnected everything is.
It makes you wonder about the role of the U.S. in all of this.
Right. Will a Harris presidency lead to a more assertive foreign policy?
Will she be more willing to engage with Russia?
Potentially escalate the situation?
Or will she try to de-escalate?
Pursue a more diplomatic approach?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
You know, time will tell.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
The next few weeks are going to be crucial.
When determining the course of U.S.-Russia relations.
And the potential for conflict in the Baltic Sea.
The whole world will be watching.
To see what happens next.
And as we watch,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that we're not just passive observers.
We have a role to play.
Our actions, our voices, our choices, they all contribute.
To shaping the world around us.
We have a responsibility to think critically about these issues.
To speak up.
To advocate for the kind of world we want to live in.
Exactly.
So let's choose to engage thoughtfully.
To consider different perspectives.
To work towards a future where peace and understanding prevail.
I like that.
Let's use our voices to promote dialogue.
Diplomacy.
A commitment to finding common ground.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the fate of the world isn't in the hands of politicians or military leaders.
Is in our hands.
In the collective consciousness of humanity.
It's up to each of us to choose the path we want to create.
Our choices matter.
We have the power to shape our future.
And it starts with us.
And as we navigate these uncertain times,
Yeah.
let's hold on to those words from MLK.
The light shall prevail.
A message of hope and resilience.
A reminder that even in the face of darkness,
There's always the potential for light to emerge.
to guide us toward a better tomorrow.
So before we go too far down that road, Well, let's talk about the potential challenges and opportunities facing a Harris presidency,
Mm-hmm.
assuming she takes office as predicted.
Right.
Rosie and Karina and the channel figures, they paint a pretty optimistic picture.
Yeah, they see it as a new beginning.
A period of healing and progress.
After all the chaos and division,
They believe that Harris can bring people together.
restore faith in the system.
Yeah, create a more just and equitable society.
But they also acknowledge that it won't be easy.
Right, there will be pushback.
Obstacles.
Resistance from those who benefit from the status quo.
The people who fear change.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for people to stay engaged.
To hold their leaders accountable.
To make their voices heard.
Yeah, complacency is not an option.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a moment to appreciate the power of intuition.
That ability to tap into something beyond the rational mind.
Yeah, to see things from a different perspective.
To connect with a deeper knowing.
And even though these intuitive predictions might seem far-fetched,
They challenge us to expand our thinking.
to consider possibilities that we might not have otherwise entertained.
To question our assumptions.
And maybe even to trust our own intuition a little bit more.
Yeah, that inner voice that sometimes speaks to us.
The one that often knows more than we give it credit for.
It's worth listening to.
It is. So if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the intuitive predictions surrounding the inauguration and those global tensions, we encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who might find it interesting.
Yeah, spread the word.
You can also find us on Spotify and YouTube for more thought-provoking content,
We're always exploring new topics.
diving deep into the mysteries of the world.
And inviting you to join us on the journey.
So until next time, stay curious.
Stay informed.
And most importantly, stay engaged.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. Follow me on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.